Hi everyone, my name is Josh and welcome to Whimsical and Interesting Musings. It's been a while since I've uploaded a video since my Return of the King two-parter, and today for Whimsical and Interesting Musings I wanted to go back to Inside Number 9 and I wanted to talk about an episode called Love's Great Adventure, which is the third Christmas special of Inside Number 9, and it's an episode of series 5. And the reason why I want to talk about this particular episode is, even though I love the episodes 12 Days of Christine and The Devil of Christmas, I feel like I have the entire year to talk, the entire month of December to talk about those particular episodes. And I am going to do a separate video for both those episodes because I feel like they need to go, I need to go in a little bit more detail about just what I think about the episode and what I actually feel about the episode, because I do think they're really good and they deserve a video of their own just to really kind of get further fleshed out. But I'm going to talk about Love's Great Adventure, and this episode follows a family who are celebrating Christmas, but money's tight, and the main matriarch and the dad of the family are trying to struggle. They're struggling at work. They're struggling to keep money aside so that they can get Christmas gifts for their family members. But there's a little bit more to this family than meets the eye when a familiar face from their past comes back into their lives and everything just goes topsy-turvy. And this particular episode is really interesting, and why I wanted to talk about it is because this episode isn't like a traditional number 9. It is pretty much a straightforward drama. It pretty much feels like a drama along the same lines as a Mike Leigh film, where it's mostly about a family dynamic. It's mostly a working class family drama where it kind of focuses on these groups of people. And they are pretty much, and for those of you who don't know who Mike Leigh is, by the way, he's a very well-known director, a very well-known British director who is mostly well-known for directing dramas along the lines of Vera Drake, or a film called Naked, or Secrets and Lies, which is another great film with Timothy Spall in it. And he's a really good director. He mostly focuses on improvisation in his films, and he mostly focuses on characters. And the script is pretty much, bare bones, and most of the stuff that he works towards is mostly achieved through improvisation. How he does storytelling is through improvisation in a lot of his films. And he was a theatre director before he went on to film, so he kind of has that aspect of, working with actors and really kind of shaping a character through improvisation, which is yes and. So it does have a very, Mike Leigh feel with the working class family and them trying to struggle through difficult times. There's a family member who has a very tricky past. He has a very, he clearly has some sort of addictive personality. He's either alcoholic or a drug addict, and he's struggling with his addictions. He's struggling with his own demons, but he's also trying to, get himself better for the sake of his son and the holidays. And this particular episode's interesting because even though it is a drama and it is written through the framework of a slice of life story, it kind of has a story going on in the background that is, and I'm really sorry for the lighting again. The lighting in my camera, the way it kind of is looking at, lighting in this room. This entire room is literally completely lit up. Like, the main light is on. There's even a light out in the hallway. So it's really bright from where I'm sitting. But for some strange reason, there's always like a shade to the side of my face or to the side of the camera lens. So it's really weird. I do apologise if it looks a little bit too shadowy, if my visage looks a little bit too shadowy. But this particular episode is really interesting because it plays like a very straightforward drama where there's a lot of funny stuff that's happening in it, but then there's a lot of really serious stuff in it, and there's a lot of really tragic stuff in it. But there is a story that I think is going on in the background that a lot of people may not be able to really recognise because it's very vague. But I think it's a story about love. And because of course the story is called Love's Great Adventure. But I think what's very interesting is it's a story about love, but it's kind of about love in the sense that when you're dealing with family, you tend to just do anything for them. And since it's about a relationship with a estranged relative, in this case it's a son, a brother and a son, you tend to do a lot for family members, and you tend to do a lot to really protect them, especially when it's to do with something that's out of their control, which is when you're dealing with something like addiction, or you're dealing with something like, you know, when you owe someone money or something like that, and you really kind of feel like you're kind of cornered in a way. And I think the entire narrative is basically a crime revenge thriller thing where one of the family members has killed someone who is a part of this son's life, who he maybe owes money to, or he may be a character who the son's doing favors for in exchange for, you know, paying him back the money in installments and things like that. And basically one of the family members has just killed them, and throughout the majority of the story you're trying to, you know, see them cover up the murder, essentially, because there's that moment where, you know, they receive a knock at the door and there's a lot of commotion, and they're telling their grandson, you know, get to bed now and things like that. So there's a lot of hints that there could be something much darker happening beneath the surface of this story. And I just think that's the twist of the entire episode. That's what the whole entire episode is building towards, is this idea of this family is willing to do anything for them, even, you know, commit murder or literally, you know, commit a horrible crime in order to keep their family members safe and out of this life, this terrible life that they're going into. Because the final line of the film, the final line of the episode is that he's gone away soon, like the son's gone away soon, but he'll come back and we'll have to do this all again. We'll just have to keep plodding along. And that kind of gives me the impression that they've done this before. So there are little hints that there's a bigger plot in this entire story. But what's really great about this episode, and why I really wanted to talk about it, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about it, but I just really love how well acted this episode is and how very well written it is. Because it is mostly improvised, it really adds a natural flavour to how the family members interact with each other. And there is a script, obviously, there is little beats that they have to hit, but for the most part, the way this entire episode is structured, first of all, for context, this episode focuses on a family who are going through a difficult time. They are literally on the breadline, where they're literally trying to get their money together. They're trying to get stuff sorted for Christmas, and it's very tight. It's very busy. You're trying to also, you know, make it a happy memory for the children, but then you're also trying to, you know, get by and survive on your own means, and you're trying to get food for them week to week, and you're not just thinking about Christmas, but you're thinking on a weekly or even a daily basis. And there's a lot of that going on as well. But what's very interesting is that this entire story is pretty much told through the point of view of an advent calendar, where every it's just little vignettes where every scene that you see is literally a day on the calendar. Like you'll see a day on the 1st of December, then you'll have a day on the 2nd of November, and every scene is kind of connected in that way, where it's all to do with a day in this calendar on this particular day in December. It's a very interesting way of telling a story. And it's a very interesting way of telling a story like this, because for the most part, it is a very straight-laced drama. There is a potential story going on in the background, but you don't really hear all that much about it. But that's what I think is really great about this episode, is you really are kind of watching this episode, kind of trying to figure out where is this all going to go. But that's what's really great about this episode, is you really just don't know what the story is. And a lot of people, I think that's why it's so well written. That's why this episode's so well written, because even though there is a family element, it is mostly lighter than most episodes of Inside Number 9. It really does have a lot to say behind the scenes. There are a lot of things that a lot of viewers could look at and say, oh, this could mean something, this could mean something else. That whole entire thing about them trying to cover up a murder, that's just my opinion about what's going on behind the scenes. It might not be the case at all. That might not be what, you know, Steve Pemberton and Reece Shearsmith planned on doing with this particular episode. But I think it's a little interesting thing to talk about. But the way it's all structured is anything could be going on in the background of this episode in regards to the son. But what's really at the forefront is what these characters are willing to do for their son in these difficult times, in the build-up to Christmas and what have you. And this isn't just a little boy. This is a man who is literally, he's old enough now to have children of his own. He has a son who his parents are looking after. And the way it's framed, you think that you think that the mum and the dad, Steve Pemberton and I forgot her name. She was in Coronation Street. She played Anna, who runs Roy's Cafe in Coronation Street. Yeah, I forgot her name. Yeah, she's good in this. But yeah, she plays the mum. And she's trying to keep everyone afloat. She's trying to keep the money together. She's trying to run the house and try to make sure everything goes well in the build-up for Christmas. But you really kind of get this impression, I read it as, they have a son who's much younger than you know, their actual ages, which is they're kind of in their 50s or their 40s. And it kind of made me think, oh, that they're still having children at this time. And that, of course, that's his big sister from ages ago. But no, it turns out that, you know, his dad is in fact their son who's, you know, out of the picture. And I just love the family dynamic in this entire episode. The fact that they are such a close-knit family, even though they seem so small at first, it really adds a certain level of you know, warmth to the whole entire episode, because for the longest time you don't really know what this episode is about or where it's actually going. But the real magic of this episode is the chemistry between the cast and them trying to build up this picture of this family who aren't perfect. They're not saints, but they are an interesting and very likable family. And that's something that really is kind of interesting, is they're just trying to get by so that when it comes time for Christmas to come around, they just have enough to just basically survive and get through it and to create memories for their grandchild. And that's what's really interesting about this entire episode, is you really do get that sense of togetherness and that sense of they're willing to do anything for each other, even though they might potentially be doing something, you know, much more criminal perhaps than what's originally hinted at throughout the rest of the episode. So it's a really good episode from that perspective, in the sense that you don't really know quite what's going on in the background, but you do kind of get a very nice picture of who his family is. And it does get very dramatic. It does get very sad at certain points, because you really do see what a whole this particular family member being gone has done to this family. Like, and there's this wonderful scene where the son returns home, and there's this entire moment where all the characters turn around and they look at him, and it literally just goes silent. And you can see on the actors' faces, they're just so pleased. They're both very worried, and they're very, you know, concerned, but they're also really kind of very just happy. There's this, I mean, the actress who plays the mum, she does a very good job of just showing how happy she is to see her son, even though technically he hasn't been there for a long time and he's gone through a rough patch, like he could be into drugs or alcohol. And that to me is very compelling acting. The performances are really good, but the writing's really good as well. Like, the writing is really on point here. And I really just love everything about it. Steve Pemberton is a fantastic actor in this, and he really does a good job of playing this guy who's trying to get by with work. He's trying to pay the bills, but he's also trying to do his job. But then he also knows that he's had a mishap. And there are little details, like, say, for example, he's calling to get his gyro checked, or, you know, his pension checked, I think. Yeah, I think it was his pension. And there's this one scene where he's in the kitchen, and he has a cast on his arm, like a plaster cast. And you're wondering, where did he get that plaster cast from? But then when it gets to door number 9 on the calendar, that's when everything starts to come together, and you realise that, oh, this is what happened, this is what went down, and it makes perfect sense why it would happen in this way, in this kind of order. And that's one of the magical things about this particular episode, is that you really do get a sense of this family really do love each other and they're willing to do anything for them. And I think that's where the title, the clue of the title comes in the sense that it's all about love and it's great adventure through us all, really, in many ways, that we're willing to just do these very, you know, kind of, sometimes in love you do crazy things, but sometimes you do really, you know, wonderful things in the name of looking after your family, or looking after your partner, or looking after your children or your grandchildren. It's just very bizarre what people will do to it. It's really lovely, but then it's also kind of very, you know, very kind of strange what people would do to kind of, you know, make sure that that person is safe. Not necessarily strange, but mostly when it comes to doing very, you know, interesting things like, maybe covering up for them, or maybe, speaking out for them and saying, this person's not in trouble, is he? Like, oh, he'll never do something like that. He's a good boy, or this is a good child, kind of thing. That's what people will do, because that's what family does. If they really love you, they'll basically try to protect you through anything. But it really is a fantastic portrait of a family's life, and it's very bizarre month in their lives. Like it really is a great story. It's very suspenseful. That scene where you hear the knock at the door, you really are kind of really concerned for them, and you're kind of expecting it to get very sinister and very sad, when like you're expecting it to continue on, and you expect them to open the door and it's either the police and one of them gets arrested, or a criminal is at the door and they end up killing someone. But they don't. They cut that bit out, and before that anything starts to go down, and it skips to the next door in the calendar. And I thought that's very good, because it really gives you a sense of suspense. Like, you really don't know what's going to happen, and it all just depends on how the next scene is set up, whether the people in that scene are all there in the next scene, or whether it's something else, or whether they're off doing something else, or whether they're actually dead or arrested. So it really adds a certain level of suspense. The way the calendar is used in this episode is very well done, especially in that scene with the knock at the door, where it just kind of, everyone's kind of all panicking, and they're saying to their grandson, like, "Oh, you get to bed now," and things like that. Like, get to bed now, do as I say. And there's that knock at the door, and everyone's kind of panicking and not really knowing what to do. And they're just sitting there for a while, and you hear these multiple knocks at the door, and you're wondering who's at the door. And then you're just thinking, someone just please answer the door. Like, just answer the door. But you can really tell there's a tension in the room, and you don't know really who that is at the door, but you really are kind of concerned, because you really start to get to know these characters and what they actually go through, and you really find it kind of relatable, because money is tight around the holidays. Like, you really are trying your hardest to really work hard and try to make Christmas the best year for anybody and everybody, especially if you're part of a big family. You really are trying to make that extra little bit of effort to make sure that everyone is working through it and doing very well. And you're just surviving most of the time, and I think that's something that really is well captured here. But the episode is wonderful. The cast, Steve Pemberton and Reece Shearsmith, are fantastic in this episode, especially Pemberton. I think he does an absolutely wonderful job. He's a fantastic actor anyway. Anything and everything he's in, he's always managed to bring his A game to. But I think all the other actors, the actress who plays Anna in Coronation Street, I've forgotten her name. I do apologise. Let me know in the comments who that actress is. She's really good in this. She plays a very good, very supportive, but also very kind of, she's at the end of her rope kind of mum. Like, she could literally, just swing for a lot of her family members. Like, that scene where she's trying to get the tap working, but she can't because her daughter's using the shower, and she's shouting "Mia" and things like that, and it's just all stuff like that that just adds a certain level of, this is a real family that's being captured here, and it's very well done. It's a very good episode. It's more dramatic, and it's more straightforwardly it's played more straightforward than your average Inside Number 9 episodes, especially when it comes to the Christmas episodes. But I'm actually really kind of fascinated that they only did 3 Christmas episodes so far. There hasn't been any Christmas episodes for Series 7 or anything like that. So I'm hoping that they do more Christmas episodes, because I really like it when they do the Christmas ones, because I really do feel like it's a great time to actually talk about them, and it gives me more material to talk about around this time of year. So hopefully in the next season we have more Christmas episodes. But the ones that they've done so far, especially with these 3, 12 Days of Christine, The Devil of Christmas, and Love's Great Adventure, they've both been really fantastic, and they've been really stellar. I think I remember in my review for Series 4 that I kind of just brushed over Love's Great Adventure, and I didn't really give it the credit that it deserved at the time. But I do feel like I watched it again recently, and I found, there's actually a lot of things here that a lot of people that I probably could bring to, that not a lot of people have brought to this particular episode in their breakdown of the episode, or in their overviews, or their own little reviews of these episodes. There's little things here that maybe I could add to it, and maybe that I mostly noticed through the actual episode, that could be actually a very interesting little theory or a little bit of analysis for the particular episode. So yeah, this episode's fantastic. It's a great episode. I wouldn't say it's a good episode to watch if you're getting into Inside Number 9. I think there's far more better episodes that I can pick out of the lineup that you could just basically watch to give you a sense of how good the episode is, how good the series is as a whole. I will definitely do a list of my favourite episodes to watch if you want to find a gateway episode into this series to really get into it. I would just recommend, right off the bat, just starting from scratch, starting from episode 1, series 1, and then working your way up and see how you feel as the series goes on. But I personally do have my set list of gateway episodes that you can actually watch to get you into the episodes, because it is an anthology series, so every episode is its own individual self-contained story, so you don't have to follow a specific plot. That's why I did it for my first overview series, because I really wanted to. And I talk about my first overview series. I haven't done another overview series since, but I am going to do one soon on another episode that I'm basically watching on Netflix. But I will be doing more overview episodes soon. But I do think I will also do a video of my favourite list of Inside Number 9 episodes. So that's my review for my little special video on Love's Great Adventure Inside Number 9. And I hope you're all having a very good day. And if I don't see you through Christmas, have a great Christmas. Happy New Year. Take care. Bye-bye for now.